Buying your first rental property can be exciting, but it's also full of potential pitfalls. In fact, I've seen people lose money, face lawsuits, and even jeopardize their entire real estate investment just because they made avoidable mistakes. I call those unforced turnovers. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through 8 common mistakes that new rental property owners make and how you can avoid them. By the end, you'll be in a much better position to succeed with your first rental property. My name is Bashoy Habib, and I'm the realest real estate attorney you know. Over the past 12 years, I've closed over 1,000 transactions totaling $12 billion. As an investor myself, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to real estate investing. And today, I want to share those lessons with you so you can avoid the same mistakes I've seen time and time again. Let's dive in. The first mistake is failing to track your expenses the minute you decide to buy your first rental property. Every expense, whether it's related to finding, purchasing, or even learning about real estate, could be classified as a startup cost and potentially be tax deductible. So here's what you do. Create a simple Excel spreadsheet or keep a digital folder with all these items. Track every expense. Credit card payments, travel expenses, education costs, dining, equipment, whatever. Not every expense will be deductible, but if you don't track it, you might miss out on it altogether. Number 2, you've probably heard that you need an LLC to protect your rental property, and that's true. But setting up an LLC in the wrong state is a common mistake. Why do you even need an LLC, you might ask? It provides asset protection, shielding your personal assets from potential lawsuits related to the property. Also, an LLC provides tax benefits. Don't try to DIY this part. Work with an attorney to ensure you have the right structure in place in the right state and with the right documentation. It's worth it to get this done properly from the start, especially if you intend to be a real estate mogul. Mistake number 3, commingling personal and business finances. This could end up being the most costly mistake you ever make in business, so pay attention. Once your LLC is set up, you'll need to open a separate bank account for it. This is critical for both tax and legal reasons. Why? Number 1, it simplifies your bookkeeping and tax filing. But more importantly, number 2, it prevents commingling, which could make you personally liable for your company's liabilities. That would be catastrophic and would defeat the whole point of the LLC, because it exposes you to unlimited personal liability. I can't overstate how important it is to have a clean and separate accounting for this reason. Otherwise, you could potentially pierce the corporate veil, which is a bad thing. If your LLC doesn't have enough money initially, you can contribute funds to it and let it pay the property's expenses. Your accountant will know how to handle this on your tax return, so make sure you have a good CPA or tax professional. Mistake number 4 is mishandling the mortgage and the title transfer. So here's a big one that could cost you a lot of money. You want to get the mortgage in your own name so you get a better interest rate, but after closing, you want to transfer it to your LLC. Many investors aren't aware of the due on sale clause and how it works in their mortgage, which is basically when the lender can call the loan due. So transferring the property to your LLC or to another entity could cause the entire loan to be called due. It could also trigger taxes due on the sale or transfer to the state. You also run the risk of voiding your title insurance policy by doing this. That's why it's super important to speak with an experienced real estate attorney before trying to transfer the property on your own. I also see a bunch of people do these DIY deeds that have all kinds of issues, and when they go to sell the property, they have title issues that they've created themselves because they failed to have someone who knows what they're doing prepare the deed. If you want to transfer the property outside of your personal name or outside from one LLC to another or add someone to title, make sure you have an attorney do it because you could be creating a ton of issue by trying to save a couple bucks. Now, mistake number 5, if you're having a rental property, is having a generic or a weak lease agreement. So now that you own a property, it's time to rent it out. But don't just rely on your property manager or a generic lease template. You need a strong lease agreement that puts you in full control of every situation. Consider, what if you decide to sell the property? Can you terminate the lease? How much of a deposit will you require? Who's responsible for maintenance? Specifically, all the different kinds of maintenance. Did you add late fees and interest for late payments? Do you have a clause that allows you to recapture attorney's fees and legal costs in case your tenant is in default? Because if you don't, you may not be entitled to those. Oftentimes, people don't even know they have a bad lease until things go south, and then they have no rights to go after the tenant like they thought they did. So make sure you have an expert draft, or at the very least, review your lease. And don't forget to list the LLC as the landlord on your lease, not in your personal name, because that could cause issues. This ensures you maintain your asset protection. Mistake number 6, not having the right insurance. Just because you have an LLC, it doesn't mean you can skip insurance. You need a landlord insurance policy. not a standard homeowner's policy to protect yourselves from the unique risks of owning a rental property. A landlord policy covers liability if a tenant or visitor gets injured on your property. It also protects you from damage caused by tenants, and it might cost more than a homeowner's policy, but it's essential for protecting your investment. And guess what happens if you file a homeowner policy claim when you have a tenant in the space? As soon as the insurance company finds out that you're not living there and you have tenants in there, and the tenants or the lease shows them that those tenants have been in there for a while, your policy will get terminated, your claim will get denied, and all that money you've dumped into those expensive insurance premiums over the years or months is going to waste. So be careful trying to shortcut your insurance carrier, because they are not in the business of losing. They will do whatever it takes to not pay your claim. That's the name of the game. Mistake number 7, skipping professional help. Real estate investing is not the time to take a DIY approach, especially if it's your first property. You'll want to work with a good real estate attorney to help you set up your structure, handle legal issues, prepare contracts, leases, etc., and a tax advisor who understands rental property deductions, depreciations, and how to maximize your tax savings. It might cost a little bit more upfront, but it's going to save you time, money, and headaches in the long run. And I'm a big believer in pay good people to do good work and focus on what you do best. And probably what you do best is not legal or taxes, unless that's your background. And mistake number 8, cutting corners and paying cash under the table, especially for work on your property. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen is when landlords try to save money by hiring unlicensed workers and paying them cash under the table. Sure, this could work sometimes, but it can backfire in a big way. I had a client who hired college students to do some tree work on his property. One of the college students got seriously hurt, and because they weren't properly insured or licensed, my client faced a massive lawsuit. His property was tied up in litigation for over a year. And so the lesson is, don't cut corners, hire someone who's licensed, that's accountable if something goes wrong, and make sure they have the proper insurance and license if they are required to have a license. So to recap the 8 mistakes to avoid: not tracking your expenses properly, setting up the wrong type of LLC, commingling personal and business funds, mishandling the title transfer, using strong leases, not having the right insurance, skipping professional help, and cutting corners and not hiring licensed contractors or people with licenses or insurance. Now you know the most common mistakes to avoid when buying your first rental property. These could be the difference between success and failure in real estate investing. And the last thing I would want is for you to have a miserable experience with your first real estate rental or investment. That's why these are so important to follow. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more real estate tips, and drop a comment below if you have any questions or if you've run into any of these mistakes yourself. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.